Hi, Michele. So we've got more essays from you. Happy to see it. Let's take a look at what you've done. Okay, the first one is advertising, unethical and unacceptable. Let's see if you agree or not. The modern world is dominated by advertising, which is filling up television, World Wide Web, mobile phones, and the streets. Okay, not in the streets, because you said it's filling up the streets. Okay? Nevertheless, some of the approach used to advertise the products in the market are often invasive and immoral. This essay will discuss the negative effect of modern advertisement. Okay, fine. Firstly, the company often resorting. Okay, there's some grammatical issues here. So, firstly, companies often resort to using special methods to be more appealing in the market, comma, breaking the rules of morality. This is because the advertisers try to create false needs among the people that only with the final purchase of the item will they be able to not cover up the satisfaction, feel satisfaction, be filled with satisfaction, perhaps something like that. Okay, so for instance, the University of Melbourne showed the clear, okay. Let's try this again because there are some errors here. For instance, the University of Melbourne showed clear evidence about the increasing impulsiveness of the buyer exposed to frequent advertisements. Therefore, the techniques, this is the wrong spelling, used by the advertisers to sell products break ethical rules to achieve better sales. The word you want here is sales. We always prefer the actual noun form over the ing if there is one and if it's the correct meaning. Okay, moving on. Secondly, in my personal opinion, it is an invasion of the privacy that we cannot escape from advertisement. I wouldn't have put the here. This is because people, are constantly bombarded from any kind of advertising derived from the internet, mobile phone companies, television, and even from the public toilets, okay? A survey conducted by the University, capital U, of Los Angeles pointed out how people feel threatened. You're missing a syllable here. Feel threatened in their privacy and their possibility to make a free choice about information. In addition, the survey showed a general missing of democracy between people. Okay, this is totally irrelevant. Okay, plus it's grammatically incorrect. It's lexically incorrect. A general lack of democracy. This isn't relevant to the topic at all. Okay. As a result, advertisement has a negative of advertising or advertisements has a negative effect on the ordinary life of society. Okay, so let's take a look unethical and unaccepted. Okay, some of the methods used. Let's think about methods, okay? So it's not just advertisement in general is unethical, but it's the methods they use. So think about what we mean here, Michele, by methods. One thing that you could think about is the fact that now, since we're all using electronic media so much, a lot of our personal data is being stolen or it's being sold without our permission. Okay? Like think about like if you use things like Facebook, all of a sudden, something that you searched maybe an hour ago, like it shows up as an advertisement on Facebook or on your web browser. So this is what we mean by methods of advertisements, okay? What you have done here is not really talk about the methods they use, especially in this paragraph, but instead you talk about advertising in general. Now here, again, you talk about special methods, but then you talk about why and what the result of their methods are, and not the methods themselves. Okay, so in other words, you're kind of skimming the topic, but you're not really addressing it as it has been asked in the question. Okay, so apart from that, there are a lot of grammatical errors in both of these paragraphs that need to be addressed and corrected, as well as some lexical errors that just don't really express exactly what you're trying to say. All right, so keep those things in mind. Look up maybe some synonyms. Maybe, I don't know if you're translating from your native language or not, but do kind of try to replace some of these words that are incorrect. All right, so to conclude, although publicity, know the, is the necessary way to improve not the market, but you really mean that publicity is a necessary way to improve sales. In my point of view, the methodology used to increase sales must be reconsidered to create a fair market that respects, with an S, society. Okay? So that's my feedback for this particular essay. Let's go to your task 1. The graph illustrates the selling trend of microchips S in France in 2017 between two producers. Overall, it can be seen that the general trend of microchips sold went up and down along the year with some significant spikes, S, but no clear direction. You didn't need the A here. Looking at February, AMD peaked at 125 units, no of, compared D with 95,000 produced by Intel. The following months, it is easy to notice the drastic fall, without the ALY, of the production of AMD. It's not the production, it's the, is it? It's the sales, not the production. Careful, because it's possible that they produced many, but just sold far less. Okay, the fall of sales of AMD at 45,000 units in March, 47,000 in April. Okay, fine. No units were sold in June by AMD. In July, AMD sales peaked at over 115,000 units compared with Intel, which reached the lowest point at almost 30,000 units sold. These have been these were the times over the year, no comma, where AMD sales were higher than those of Intel. Okay. In contrast, moving forward, no, let's try that again. In contrast, overall in 2017, Intel led the market except for February. July, September, and October, you don't need the respectively at all here. Intel reached a peak in June at 125,000 units, followed by 115,000 units in November, with a slight decrease at almost 110,000 units in December. In July, Intel reached the low point with 65,000, while on the other hand, AMD jumped to the highest number of units produced by month. Okay. Okay, so Michele, here we have a lot of problems with your syntax. In other words, your sentences are not clear in a number of areas. I felt like this paragraph was a little stronger than the previous one, and I'll give you okay. Now, here's the thing. We're talking about a year. We're talking about all of 2017. So, for me, when I read about a year, there are a few points that are really important for me to hear about. I want to hear the beginning, I want to hear the end, and then I want to hear the key points in the middle. So there was nothing about where the year started off, okay? So instead you talked about February, and then you didn't talk about the end of the year at all. I think the last thing you mentioned about AMD here is July, okay? So it's kind of strange. I mean, what happened in the rest of the year? I have no idea, and I certainly don't know where the figures ended at the end of the year. Here, in this paragraph, again, you talked about February. Okay, a little bit, but not really specifically. So instead, you gave me the peak at 125 in June, 115 in November, and then, okay, yeah, great, you mentioned December here and its figure, but I'm still missing some key points of the year, like the beginning, and so I feel like I'm missing a lot of information about the beginning of the year here. So, in other words, I can't create a real mental image in my head about this data that you're looking at. I would be absolutely unable to kind of visualize what the year looks like with any sort of accuracy based on the information. So keep that in mind when you're describing this. Think to yourself, am I describing it in a way that the reader can kind of see an image in his head about what this looks like? All right? But there are also a number of problems, like I said before, with grammar, wrong tenses, wrong syntax. So please do revise them. So correct these essays, send them back to us corrected. Don't forget about your error correction list, and send us new essays. We'll be here. We'll be waiting for them. So good luck with your next writing assignment.